Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming this afternoon for the talk. Today we have Zaki and there's 6 artists who are present here today. Unfortunately, Mei Sing is overseas, she wouldn't be joining us today. Zaki will be speaking on behalf of her portion. So the talk will be about 1 hour or so, and then we'll open up questions to the floor. So each artist will take you through their practices and how their past works actually lead up to this current body of works. And so I'll pass the mic to Zaki for him to do an introduction. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and appreciate your attendance. The time you actually sacrifice for this modest talk about the exhibition. And I see this talk as a very important element of the show. I think without this talk, it wouldn't be complete. So little introduction. My name is Zaki, and currently I am a lecturer at LaSalle. Curating is something that I do not on a regular basis. Intermittently, sometimes if opportunities like this that allow me to actually explore the craft, and usually because this is an experimental kind of field, so I was trying my best thinking about how to push this exhibition and try to maybe reframe the notion of printmaking, or even the ways on curating exhibitions. So I will talk about the premise of the show, how actually we started. So we actually sat down, myself and the group, the artists, and tried to talk about how can we move this show into something that is not conventional or orthodox, because these are actually, including Wilson, they are actually they're considered experts in printmaking, right across from traditional to digital means. So there's no doubt about their precision, their knowledge about the technique. So we sat down and discussed how to actually go for a breakthrough rather than visual group of artists showing printmaking works, and then eventually becomes like a media-based show. So what we agreed, we do not want that, and we wanted to have like a different perspective or angle. So my inclusion in this group exhibition is also into how to think about to include myself not as an artist, but more to make it like an interesting and engaging group exhibition. So it's interesting. The guest of honor, Shin-Young, he talked to me and he asked me a question. He asked me whether am I also one of the artists, because the rule is the curator cannot do work. Okay, the curator must organize, conceptualize, or write the essay, but cannot do the work. So he actually saw it. He mentioned to me that I think you are also one of the artists in the show. Yes, he got it right, but I do it very subtly. So how I actually did it is to include this book as part of the artwork. If you see this book later on, or you get it later on, read it, and then I think this book completes the whole picture or the whole jigsaw puzzle, and how this exhibition is conceived is through this format. Okay, so how this author actually exemplify the format of the book, how I think about the exhibition how I actually sequence them in order, and how I make the words coherent in the essay that I've written. So that is the premise of the exhibition. So if everyone is looking for a group show of maybe traditional printmaking works, I'm very sorry. If you are expecting a print show which is of design related, maybe typography, I'm very sorry as well. It's not that. So it's basically about the story of printing, which I always try to emphasize, to highlight what happened before the invention of the Gutenberg printing machine, and what happened after that. So how I locate the artist's work is actually based on that evolution before and after the Gutenberg printing. So maybe we will go through the order of artists. So one by one, the artists will talk about processes of their works, technical processes, their thoughts, their development prior to the show, and then also perhaps like how they respond to the tutorial format or the letter that I've written to them. And then maybe when I am about to present on Razak's behalf, then I would recap a little bit about the context of the show. Okay? So without further ado, I pass the mic over to Nadia or the first class.
I'm Nadia. Good afternoon. Right. So I would say that I need this to refer to. Okay, so some points that I will not want to miss. Okay, I know that I will be happy to be an artist, but actually I do not know how I would survive as one. Okay, to begin with, I would like to talk about my first artwork. Why this is my first artwork? Because it marked the beginning of my journey as a practicing artist in the year 2014, where I got my master's in fine arts. As practice, I'm from a design communication 20 years back. And it's a long journey before I actually make my dream come true to have myself studied in fine arts. Okay. Now this piece of artwork it was inspired by living in a HDB flat. We know that most of us live in HDB flat, and in the high-rise kind of buildings, space is limited, and in order for us to keep in touch with nature, that's not easy for this fast-paced life that we have. And I took photographs from these confined spaces, looking out from the window of my house, okay, any windows that I can find, and I start to take pictures from corridors also, from the long corridors that you used to, walk to go to work and things like that, and also at the spaces like the staircase and so. And I powdered up. I printed on the fabrics, and I make it into stacks like this. I call it stacks and blocks because stacks are like high-rise building condominiums that we see. And blocks are our unique blocks that we stay in, especially as a Singaporean here in locally in Singapore. So this book is called Stacks and Blocks. As you can see, the miniature, the pictures here partially, and sometimes in full view. It is the viewer's involvement to interact with the subject. Alright. I love experimenting with different works. Okay, this is my studio space. Because I live in a HDB, so the space, my studio is right outside my door. and sometimes I will go through the Zaki, right, to do my artwork, and of course I clean it out and pack it every day when I finish. So yeah, this is how I work. This is a piece that I mimic 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You know that 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point if you look at 0 degrees Celsius. This one talks about the moments and that we wish that we could freeze time, like we hold it forever, how we wish that time can just stop there, okay? In places that we were in and also people we love. So I name it 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see from there there are small little places, memories that I have throughout my years. And I use resin, paper, painting for this artwork. So resin is used here because I want to portray like the freeze of time, frozen. Right. Yeah, this is how it is because our government is quite good, okay? So the flooring here, you can see that they painted it so nicely with this grey color. So to me, it's a happy thing because I could use it as a background. It's like a studio shot that whenever I want to take pictures, right, I put against this grey background and looks good. So I took pictures from there. And of course, the one on the right side, that one is my living room. And it becomes a studio. But I have to clean it up again. Right, this is how the work was done. Just to show the next one. Right. So before I come to this work, this recent work affinity, I look into the beyond time previous work that I've done. And it captures the journeys that I have. I use this cyanotype as an alternative process in this photographic because it reminds me of my childhood where I see the black and white photographs, how they were developed. My dad was a photographer, so I used to be in this dark room together with him and see how he developed all these photographs. And it has a very deep impression on me. Okay? But I couldn't access to a dark room, so I use this because it also has the images that appears in the water. So that's how I remember him. Okay. Right. So, the next one. Is this is also part of the artwork. Alright, affinity. This is the recent work that is in this show. It outlines the affections of life to capturing the unfamiliar path, the homeland, and the small birds and the big moments of lights and shadows. Now, I have this in very vivid image, like it's printed out so brightly to illustrate love and hope. Okay, looking at the artwork, it just allows me to see myself in this journey as an artist since 2014 to now is like 5 years. So I feel that it's like, to me, okay, it's like a kind of a record, a continuous journey that it repeats itself. Okay, it always it's like to always remember my roots. Okay, where I come from. Okay, even if I would soar like birds one day, and to always remember my curiosity in my life, and to pause and reflect so that I could continue in my practicing in my art journey again. So this affinity marks this 5 years of my journey. Yeah, thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Miguel. I'm currently working full-time in Nadia Academy of Fine Art. It's the 6th degree program and at the same time being in charge of the filmmaking department. So basically, I'm interested in the work, how people perceive things through perception and how people judge things through cover. Like the phrase never judge a book by its cover. So I was very intrigued by that. So I started this series over where I took pictures of friends in a certain pose and superimpose some things to play with the person's mind at the same time release the details of the features and left only the silhouette and just the pose and silk screen onto this industry material called vinyl canvas where you see people being paintage in public projects and things like that. At the same time, I will backlit the work behind the canvas and it will show a certain kind of atmosphere. So this series overall where I started to play with how I want the people to perceive things and let people judge based on different backgrounds, different product, different beliefs. So and this series overall is actually a series of men dressed as a woman and trying to play with people's minds. So I selected a few friends that are skinny now to look like a woman and took pictures and made them dress like a woman. Then after that, I subtract the features away and left only the silhouette and trying to play with how you judge. At the same time, I'm trying to give some hint and pieces that actually they are men in a certain area. So if you look carefully in the silhouette, you somehow can see that I give some hints that they are men. Okay. Yeah. So as you see here, I will put like Adam Apple, man with a bit of crotch down there. You can see that it's a man. So but you have to see carefully. So you have people who do not see detail, just like see the outlook, not able to see it. So and then when I push forward to play with aluminium and started to laser cut what I have done on vinyl canvas onto aluminium. So then I backlit with LED light and install it onto the wall. And all these are actually like 1 story high and hung from the ceiling down to the floor. So I play with the whole environment of the wall and spaces like this. So in the same time, start to play with people's mind, trying to be naughty at the same time, and multiple interpretations. It's up to the viewer to perceive and judge. So I always like to use found objects that you can find at home to depict something that I like about that. Someone who knows, you know what Gundam toy is, a Japanese toy where it's like a child favorite toy. I use household projects, stack them together and try to form the silhouette of the toy. So all these objects are found like Swiss Army knife, pots and pans, things that I can find in my studio, in my mother's kitchen. Try to stack the whole stack and take a picture of it, remove the details and left only the silhouette. Then I superimpose onto the canvas and still screen it. Then after that I push forward to do aluminium. So this is my solo show as explained many years back. And I started to go crazy a bit and go big scale, push what I can do with all this material that I have. So these are all huge, maybe like 5 meter to 4 meter tall aluminium series. So I back it in this control environment and I'm obsessed with actually with lights, how lights draws people's attention, how we live in this urban where nowadays everything is lighting and everything that draws you rather than sceneries. Then I also do silk screen. These are also silk screen on paper, so I support two images. One is you die cut the paper, after that you silk screen and other images onto the silhouette. So and after that I went to go to big scale where I pushed the silhouette to 5 meter tall standing structure, and it gives different lighting and it will start to flash. And this piece of work was at National Museum over their side when they commissioned me to do it. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. So I'm constantly trying to push what printmaking can do from 2D to 3D. Yeah. Then lately I'm obsessed with jellyfish and weapons, and because everybody thinks that weapons are dangerous, and I believe that the weapon is never a dangerous object. It's the intention of the person who uses it. So I'm trying to raise the issue. Everybody cannot judge book by its cover. It can be nice, pretty to look at, but at the end of the day, it's the inner beauty that we should be aware of, that the outlook of a person. So I've constantly been doing this whole idea about. So then I push the idea into boxes to represent human. So I actually do a die cut M16 exercise acrylic sheet to superimpose the same idea of how a box represents a human, then that everybody actually are dangerous in a certain way. Is how you intend to use it. So this gun is in every one of us. So it's like how you use it, whether you will use it for saving someone or you use it to kill someone or your own personal agenda. Then I pushed the idea to creating a series of weapons where you can see on the right hand side that all the parts of the weapons, and you know that all men know how weapons function, all the spring, all the muzzle, because of the national service we train. So I superimpose all the correct proportion of weapons in X-ray and how the mechanic of a weapon look like to create this X-ray looking thing that I'm talking about. So this weapon is in this black silk screen, black acrylic sheet silk screen on the surface to have the same idea of what I'm trying to do. So I have a series of weapons. So after that I move to jellyfish. As you know, jellyfish has two different kinds. One is non-poisonous because it doesn't have the tentacle. So the other one is poisonous, where you can see all the long tentacle that will sting you. So I felt jellyfish is something that is beautiful to look at, but at the same time, when they stung you, they are deadly. Is to put into the metaphor of how we humans judge things through image, how pretty things is not what they are at the end of the day. Yeah. So this series of work that you will see in the gallery now is a child jellyfish. The silhouette, the black silhouette is actually non-poisonous. Jellyfish, the one that is still screen on inside the silhouette is actually all poisonous jellyfish. So I'm trying to say that this condition of how everyone outlook looks harmless, but at the end of the day, it's the inner intention there. They can be dangerous if you are not aware of how you, and at the same time you judge the book by itself. Yeah, thank you.
Shin-Young. I was born in South Korea, but when I was 16, my parents decided to move to New Zealand, so we went to Auckland, and went to art school there. After that, I think 2006, I came to Singapore because married to Singapore husband. So now I'm here. It's been 13 years. When I was in New Zealand, because I was in my teen, I went to high school there, and then back then there's not many Asian students, and when you are 16 and 15, they tend to bully those. Okay, I experienced a lot of racism in school when I was growing up. So when I went to university, I produced a lot of work based on the racism, based on my experience of how I feel, what was happening in my life. So I will show you one piece of work that I did. I did afterwards though. I'm a New Zealand citizen. So when you look at the left one, you see yellow, which usually represent me. So you only see yellow because it stands out because of the color. But actually, when you see from a certain angle, I printed word white all over. So it represents, I belong to this society, I'm one of you, but you don't see me that way because I'm different. So it talks about point of view that what's the word? Depends how you see, different things you can see from the people. So it was based on my experience in New Zealand. So when I came to Singapore in 2006, if you're born in here, you're very used to having domestic helpers and construction workers working for you, the things that we don't want to do. But for us, it was very foreign, and then that's why I started this series. So when you look at this work, if you read it from the top, it shows like Telok Blangah, West Coast, Oxley Walk, Sengkang, and so on. So I think this one, let's see, it talks about, so it represents Singapore, right? It's a area names of Singapore. You see Beach Road, Sunset Walk. So all the words here represent Singapore. But when you look closely, there are words in thinner font. I can't even pronounce it, but these are the surnames of the foreign workers, domestic workers. I think I have about 6 or 7 inside. So actually, I asked my helper to go and collect your friend's surname so I can use it for this work. So basically, I want to say that Singapore cannot be completed without contributions of these people. We don't even see them; they are hidden inside. But without them, this work cannot be completed, and then Singapore won't be the same as we are. And then there's another work that I did. This one talks about the construction workers. So we have Marina Bay Sands, Greenport, is at the secondary school. So all the names of buildings and bridges and even ERP is inside, like Marina Barrage. So once again, you can find names of the foreign workers inside who actually build these places for us. So this is my, this work represent their contribution to Singapore once again. Then I use road sign to also represent where they work. The previous one was I think it's a danger sign or yellow one. They always carry and then you see on the street. And then road sign also, all these roads and places are built by them. So I use these 2 shapes to help to represent this work. And I actually use a 3D, it's an actual road sign. I went to the factory and asked them, what do you use when you actually make the road sign? So these are the exact materials that you see on the street. So, next. And last year it was to our 10th wedding anniversary. So I thought we'll look back. I want to look back at the notion of marriage, so that we can have healthier relationship and happy marriage, continuous ones. So I started to go to church, and I found this verse talks about the marriage. It's about wife have to do something. Do this. Husband have to do this. And we all know that, but after 10 years of marriage, it's very difficult because we start to take each other for granted. So the next slide. Okay. So I decided to type what you saw. Sorry, the previous one. I started to type, position, numbers, and wife, submit to yourself, to your own husband, using this keyboard, which you have Korean and English. So when we, as a Korean, we use this keyboard to type Korean and English, right? So when you just started, it started wives, right? Wives. So I will type W. But when I type W, I will switch to Korean mode. So I'll be typing this number, this character, which is Korean. And then next one is an I, right? Wife. The wife will be I, but I'll be typing this one. But this W, this character doesn't mean this letter. So I don't know how to explain this, but when I type like that, wife, the Korean that I type doesn't mean wife in Korean. So you end up with words that I cannot understand either. And when you do the other way around, when I look at Korean verse, and I type Korean Bible, but I change to English mode. So when I type Korean, the English will come up. So these are the ones that I type English version, but I switch to Korean. I can't read anything because it doesn't make sense. And so as this one, I type in Korean version, but I change to English mode. So it come out in English, but none of us can read either. So it talks about the marriage. If you impose your belief or value or what you know to another person, your partner, then you are looking at the same thing, you are looking at the same verse, but you won't be able to communicate or understand each other. So this word represents the marriage, and then it comes as a pair. And then I found these plates from New Zealand at antique shops. I want to print in a material that represent marriage as well. So it represents like a wedding china. When you get married, you buy all those wedding china. So I'll show you the technique. So basically, I have to print a decal of what I'll print it, type from the computer, and I have to stick it onto my plate and print the kiln, the fire at 800 degrees, and then you will come up with the plate. So I did this work in New Zealand when I visited my parents. They are still there. So I think this is what is displayed in the show right now. I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Maybe just a very brief background. I'm trained in fine art, but I work in mostly video and digital media now. I also work with photography and print. Maybe you can see the Bible in the book later. Go to the next one. So the work I'm showing for this exhibition is based on how I see our cultural and art landscape in Singapore. So I've been working in the art scene for many years, and we always have the same issue can you play the video? Of looking at how our policies and the government agenda has for the art scene and how it positions itself in the global arts. So I work in various platforms, art forms. It can be a video installation, video performance, print, photography, media. And the content I use mostly deal with a lot of issue of expression. And one can work it. Oh, so, right. So many buttons. So in this case, this work is co-created show with Korean artists, myself and Korean artists did this co-created project about media art. I was in Human Barracks a few years ago, and my work in this show was set up a bunch of DJ equipment and using the text. Maybe some of you have seen the show here. The text is taken from the NEC website, all the mission statement, core values and such. So I use the text as a form of just showing the people, the audience, like do they know what they are looking at? So of course most people don't know that our National Arts Council mission statement. Who will know? Who will bother read this stuff? Even when we apply the funding, we don't really read it. So you can see the texts are made to visuals, and the audience will come in and play with the VJ equipment, and I'll be there to coach them. Yeah, next please. So there's a few series of the video conference series, and this is the museum series. And actually in the book, Zaki's book, you won't see the work in the space, but you see older work, which is fake news. So in the previous Singapore Biennale, I was commissioned to do a work, and it is about our 3 main museums closing down. And it is we set up a studio, and we engage I engaged the late Duncan Watt. I mean, some of you may be familiar with Duncan Watt, the newscaster, and I asked him to read the news for me. So we created a fake news to talk about our 3 museums, the 3 main museums closing down. And I think this series continue to evolve and work into the different formats. And this is a 3 photograph, triptych work. And you see the colorful thing and the glitchy part is actually created from the glitch. I'm using the same text again. So within the image file, the text file, I just insert lines of the text for the mission statement. And each line, it will disturb a little bit of the image file. And I had to consider where to put it so that it won't go overboard, or it will be blank. If I go overboard, the whole image file will be corrupted. So I had to try a few times and put in the mission statement, and all the gibberish that you see, you can try it. You can open your JPEG image file as a text edit file, and you see gibberish, all the coding. And I will insert you see the middle part, there's mission statement. So of course you can put in any text you want. You can put in your recipe or whatever you name. It will still reach it, but just a symbolic meaning of our mission statement, how it interfered or how it influenced our main institution. And of course our main art institution is sort of influencing how we see the art scene. Next please. And also this text-based work is also in other of my series, like the video class series. So how I came up with this video class thing? They also incorporate some of the VJ conference work. And this work has been presented in various countries. But it started in Singapore when we were doing the first night festival at Substation. So we have the work, we have the location for the night festival, the first night festival by the National Museum, but we don't have a space. So my friend and I will consider, okay, where are we going to present our work, where we don't have a space for the night festival. So okay, I'll borrow my sister's car and I'll insert our work within the car. So the car became like a video car, which sort of means we can go to any place. We just drive the car to a location, set up the work, and we have the show there. So the work continues with this premise of our nation have lack of space for the arts, lack of amenities, and lack of resources. So we have our own cars, so we can drive around, present work. So the car, next please. So the video car series continue even now. So once a while, I'll be asked to present the work. And it was 2 years ago. And I will incorporate what I've been doing in other series and incorporate to this work. So this is for the Singapore Inside Out series by the STP. So at the same time, I am also inviting the audience in Sydney in the festival and to show them how to do VJ. So the next slide. And the image you just saw, it also comes from another series of video performances, video demonstration of me so-called performing. And most of the time I will perform with my collaborator. And this was for a show in Paris. What was it? It's for the Singapore festival thing. And we have the fortune to use this space, an old church, where they actually use the church for performances and music. So we can actually perform there. So in the beginning you see the text, which is in my mixer. And whenever I do this work, overseas, it's kind of like, okay, let me introduce you to Singapore art. So I'll play the text. Now, of course, I'll obscure it with the VJ mixing. And sometimes you read it, but you can't really read it. It's the same as how you see the work now in private museum. The texts are all around, but it's moving, it's fragmented, it's not clear. So you're not able to read it properly. Next one. So this is a version 2 of the mask, the life circuit mask. And this also has been around doing various screenings locally and abroad. So maybe just play the last video and it's a final slide. So I also do this as a video portrait. And I'm trying to, because when I wear the mask, which is an audio visual, describe this. You just translate what is around me visually. I have a spy cam on the mask, and it will also pick up sounds from a microphone. And I'm playing the text, the computer generated voice, reading out the text from my iPod and coming out from the mask. So the gas mask is actually speakers. So the goggles are screen and the spy cam, and the ear muffs, they are the sound amplifier. So my whole head is covered with this thing, and I cannot hear or breathe or see anything. So my vision, my hearing, or my nose are all blocked. But I am still giving out that message. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. ignore that birth date. I'm sure there's a typo error there somewhere. That can't be real, surely. I think it's great actually that there's a great diversity of artists in this group. So, for about more than a decade, the subject matter of my work has been about people. People, humanity, society. And my explorations led me to conclude that actually people are very strange. And I'll proceed to show you why. So I'll start with a couple of images that Zaki chose to put in the catalogue. This is early stuff done about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, when I was living in Hong Kong. Fabulous city, it really is a mad place, but I love Hong Kong. And I created a series of work which is a response to living in Hong Kong. One of the most densely populated places in the world. And as I was living there, I was questioning, why do people choose to live like this? One on top of the other. We live in really shoeboxes in the sky. And we are slaves to technology as well. We choose to be imprisoned by the computer chip. So it really just made me question, why do human beings choose to live like this? And it's not just Hong Kong, it's every city in the world. It's a bit mad. And so as I began to ponder about those questions, I realized I had to keep digging deeper and bring the question back to, well, what makes us human in the first place? So I realized that I had to turn to science to get answers about what makes us human. But at the same time, I have my own spiritual pursuits. I'm not religious at all, but I am spiritual. And in pursuing these two topics in parallel, basically the science of what makes us human and also my own personal spiritual pursuit, inevitably these two paths are going to meet. And where they intersect, where science and spirituality intersect, I realize is a very big topic, and it's a topic of human consciousness, because it's human consciousness that separates us from the rest of the other living species on the planet. Because other living creatures don't live the way we live. They don't pollute the planet, and they don't do all the crazy things that human beings do. And so I began the exploration and research into consciousness. So I also wanted to go into 3 dimensions, and this was a sculpture created to try and capture the essence of consciousness, which is interconnectivity. Because in my own spiritual pursuit, I began to believe that there is intelligent design out there. You only have to take our eyeball. Our eyeball is actually an extremely complicated organ, and there is no way that an eyeball would have evolved from a single-celled creature about 400 million years ago. So the theory of evolution is really, I won't say wrong, but we've been led down the garden path. Anyway, that's a whole other story. My poor husband has to listen to this stuff every day. So capturing the essence of consciousness, but also I started to work with dimensions, because in my research about consciousness, there are lots of interesting people who are proposing very interesting theories about consciousness, such as perhaps consciousness actually resides in higher dimensions, like the 5th and the 6th dimensions. We have to exist in 3 dimensions of space, but our consciousness does not. But as an artist, I'm stuck with working in 3 dimensions. I can't go anywhere else. So I have to play with light and shadow, which is in effect a different dimension. And so this was an exercise in playing with light and shadow. Let me check my notes because there was something I really wanted to say. That's right. I wanted to create a temporary shifting kind of existence, which light and shadow can do. And also the elusive nature of shadows reflects the elusive nature of our consciousness. You know, scientists have still not, till this day, been able to satisfactorily explain what human consciousness is. So having done the three-dimensional web, I then wanted to incorporate it back into my 2D work. I still love print very, very much, and I'm always very reluctant to let go of print. So this is a screen print on acetate, which I then decided to make into an object. So it's a three-dimensional shadow drawing, if you like. I mean, there's the actual object in the print, but then there's the shadow. And of course, depending on how you move the light source, the shadow moves with it. So this was a drawing that's on a piece of acetate. The actual object drawing, if you like, is in the top half. The rest of the bottom half, that's actually the shadow of this so-called sculpture drawing. And this is an evolution 4 years on, which is still trying to work with clear materials. So I became quite fixated with working on clear, translucent or transparent material because, again, that allows the interplay of light and shadow. This is another form of print. So if you think about print, apart from 3D printing, all other forms of print happen on a flat surface. And so again, I wanted to question that flatness of surface. I wanted to extrude the drawing, if you like, out into space and explore dimensionality again in that regard, and also to challenge the viewer's perspective about what they're seeing. You know, what they're seeing is a flat print on a flat surface, but then again, it's not flat. And so that whole question of dimensionality and perspective comes into play as well. And also asking questions like, you know, can print float in space? Or can we be immersed in a print, for example? So then these are just experimental. My work is process-driven, very experimental. This is just playing with paper, print on paper and print on clear plastic. And then finally we arrive at, this is the inspirational piece that has led to the piece in the gallery now. The piece in the gallery now is a response to Zaki's curatorial proof, where, you know, his decision to not want to have a conventional printmaking kind of show led me to think about the future of print and where that's going. And we actually now have the technology to print DNA, believe it or not. And so just kind of questioning the ethical and moral ramifications of being able to print DNA, because actually what that means is in the future, if we are allowed to continue with this groundbreaking technology, in the future actually, we will be able to be gods. We will actually be able to create new forms of life, which is both exciting and very disturbing at the same time. Different to cloning, because I can just clone Urich and just get another Urich. But when you when you can actually print DNA and create new forms of life, you know, that's when it gets really quite disturbing. So that's the piece in there that is encompassing these ideas. So that's me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm supposed to speak on Maxine's behalf, but before I proceed, I'd like to do a recap. Okay, besides you have heard or listened to various types of printmaking techniques. And also, you might be wondering what is Urich doing? What is that got to do with printmaking? That one you asking yourself. I think you'll be happy to elaborate. So okay, then what has all of the works got to do with revising the phenomenon of printing, which I really like to share with everyone. Hence, I have written this essay in this book. Okay, so let's recap about Nadia's work. And also, I just now failed to mention about, I mentioned about Gutenberg machine, but what is actually Gutenberg machine? So this Gutenberg printing machine is invented by Johannes Gutenberg, okay, in the mid-15th century. So he was the first one who created a machine that can print repeatedly or multiply in a massive amount of quantity information. Okay, so before the invention of Gutenberg machine, we had manuscript culture. Okay, manuscript it involves writing, and then they actually copied those writing into books, but the pace was much slower. Okay, and then before the manuscript culture, we had the oral culture. Okay, this is what is also reflected in this essay. And it really, I feel, relates to Nadia's work because it's actually about the memory. Okay, it's about the listening ears. Okay, oral culture. If you realize, when Gutenberg printing was invented, it shifted from the listening ears to the sight. So everything is about framing or looking at letters. Okay, and what I've discovered, okay, I thought the elementary ABC is actually good. It's good, but at the same time, scholars were, or actually are debating about it because it's astonishing whereby profound concept is simplified into simple letters. So when you read these letters, you can only see those letters and you can memorize them, but most of us actually fail to understand the concept. Okay, it's really different from the culture of the listening ears, where we always listen and we always group together. But when we read, we tend to read alone. We tend to isolate and read alone. Therefore, we do not want to go out and consult or to discuss with wise people. Okay? So, and then we actually shift to Shin-Young's work. Okay, Shin-Young's work is about biblical verses that she wrote and printed onto displays, and I feel even the process itself is very unique. Okay, but what I would relate to her works because of the use of biblical verses, because soon after the printing machine was invented, okay, the first category of information printed was actually religious texts. Okay, this is when Martin Luther, okay, the one who actually propagated Protestantism, okay, he actually made use of the printing machine and he deemed it as the extremist grace of God. Okay, he actually said that. He said that this is actually a tool that can help him print all those translated verses so that they can go to every household. So the Bibles can be at every kitchen table so that everyone can read them. But the thing is, they would read them without proper consultation because it's already been translated to vernacular languages. Okay, so and then I forgot about Miguel's work. A very particular element of his work is perception. So again, the perception about printing, whether is it good or bad, that made me actually reflect or think about after I've read much about this discourse. Okay, and then of course about Urich's work. Okay, that's when we actually the influx of information, and somehow it got into the creation of nationalism, and again nationalist states make use of the tool. Okay, and then of course Mona's work. Okay, the idea about science and progress. Okay, so that the science and progress actually kind of bring it into making it parallel into the notion of achievement or happiness. Okay, so about Wei Sin's work, okay, I wish she is here to elaborate more on practice, but she is definitely a very talented young artist who is well trained in the printmaking technique. And then context of her work for this show is about the juxtaposition or the combination of both traditional and modern concept. Traditional is actually the tool she used. She used etching, but the image she used are images that she borrowed from the stock images, images of like our hands touching the screens of our phones. Okay, this is definitely a popular culture that we are actually adopting now. Even reading is actually brushed aside. So her image. Okay, never mind. So I'll just describe. So her work currently in the gallery is a diptych of those images I mentioned are being etched into two types of so-called windows. Okay, she is trying to comment about how society now receiving information and actually perceiving them. Nowadays, society does not have much control of information because information is everywhere. A very big difference from how it started. It's a much control, and therefore she wished to actually compliment about what the society is now like. Okay, I think I've been also in several conversations with her, and we always talked about how can she actually combine these two. So I think the result is what is there in the gallery. I think you really need to be near, in close proximity with the work, okay? And very similar to now how we actually are using the phones. We're actually very close with the phone, but we tend to forget about the surroundings. Okay, so that's the gist of Wei Sin's work. Okay, now how to resolve all this? Okay, I'll hand over to Shih to resolve this, and perhaps conclude. Yeah.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for staying throughout and until now, the last part. And I thank you, my son, for being such a good boy and staying here since 2:30 p.m. And a short bio about myself. I studied in NUS. I majored in marketing, business administration, and before I went to LaSalle, which I did visual communications, graphics design. And then eventually I ended up in San Francisco Art Institute, and I did painting for 1 year there. So ever since I came back, I've been a practicing artist for the past, I think, almost 20 years. And my things that are most interested to me is the use of Chinese ink and mark making. And in the genre that I'm most interested in is abstract expressionism. I will talk mainly about this series that I'm showing in the private museum. So ever since 2010, I've been exploring the use of toy robots in my works. So this work that we have seen here is installation view of an exhibition that I did recently in the NUS Museum. So what you see are actually these robots that I bought. They are toys. I will kind of elaborate on them later when you see the picture. So what I do is I will fix the robots, and these robots are really simple machines that you can buy from toy stores, and 8 years old can fix them. But instead of using what they came with, like markers, I improvised these little robots, and I will use my own Chinese brushes, or I will use different things, or even twigs, branches, and then I will just put them, and then I will dip these tools with Chinese ink and let them just move around the surface. So I have been exploring this in my residencies in Fukuoka, in Tokyo, and even in Munich. Most of the works that how I use these robots is that what you've seen just now is actually the first step of the quite a long process. With all the marks created by the toy robots and the Chinese ink, I will then choose the marks which are the most interesting to me, and I will use a scanner to scan the marks. And then from then, I will use Photoshop to edit the marks and then recompose them, and then I will make them into a silk screen print. So the paintings that you see here is on a single layer. I will screen print the marks made by the robots, and then I will paint, screen paint. So there are many layers. But most of my works are only on the first layer, on a single surface. So the works that you see in the private museum are actually my newest exploration by using 2 layers rather than one single surface. And on the very first meeting when I met Zaki, when we were discussing what works to show here, what works to even create, and he talked about my works that I did in the residency in Tokyo. Yeah, so the idea is to, how do I want to make a kind of quite a large installation by using one image and repeating the image. And in Tokyo, I was fortunate enough to kind of meet up with my old classmate from the cell, Mr. Puni. So he runs a very small print shop. And in the print shop, there is this old master who has 30 years of experience in offset printing. And I was very intrigued that I want to use this machine, but I don't want to use it in the normal way because this machine can only print one color, and it's supposed to just print like name cards that are homogeneous. Everything should be exactly the same. And you know the culture in Japan, like they are very anal. Like everything must be precise, everything must be nice and homogeneous, 100% print. So I told him that, I asked, luckily I had my friend who can translate everything, because whatever I told him is to not do what he has been doing for the last 30 years, is to break every single rule that he does. So the idea is, instead of one color, so he's supposed to put one color in the printing, the part that you fill the ink, the oil-based ink. So I told him to put only 2 colors simultaneously inside. So as it prints, it will actually print 3 colors and some colors in between the gradation. And then when the ink runs out, I will feed the paper in again, and then it will print the ghost image. So on a single piece, there will be like 3 different layers, and with the ghost image and the previous image. So in the total, we printed about 500, but no single print is the same color because it is so many layers, and then the color keeps mixing at a different degree. So I was able to use a offset printer, which is this printer model, the Heidelberg Printmaster QM. So a little history about this. So the very first printer was actually invented and manufactured in 1914. So it was very popular back then in the 1970s, 80s. But then in the year, like maybe close to year 2000, the whole printer was, this printing shop was closed down because everyone wanted to print digitally. Nobody wants to print like using a one-color machine and all that. So it's actually being obsolete, and these machines are quite difficult to find. Yeah. So this, he helped me with the prints, so we can move on to the next. So this is the installation view of the exhibition, where you can see that although each are printed by the same printer, but each print is very different. And then about the robots, you can see that the robots, how I actually use different things with it, and even strips of paper, anything that I can find, and then I will, and then dip it in the Chinese thing, and then when it moves, it will create like beautiful, very interesting marks. And I will share with you the process of the works that you see here. So when I think about a traditional print, it's always with one technique, like either a lithograph or etching. So, but I'm trying to use to kind of mix a few techniques in my work. So on the first layer of the work, it has a mono printing with the etching press. And then on the second layer, I will screen print the marks made by the robots. And then on the fine art glass, which is a special glass that is non-reflective, it has the first layer is a screen print by the marks made by the robots. And then before it dries, I will paint on it. And then just adding and then also subtracting. Because the glass is a very special material. It's not like paper where on canvas where you put something, it's kind of stick to it. This glass is so smooth. So after I screen print, I can remove or scrape away, adding and subtracting. And then once I have the paper and the glass, I will match to see the composition that I like. And this is the first time that Mona has been using like the shadow in her works for a long time, but this is actually the first time I've made use of the light. So depending on the direction of the light, the shadow it makes on the work will actually create another color and another gray so-called in the works. So this is in my studio, the work in process pictures. So this is, just now that one is the screen print. And this is the zoom in of the marks. And yeah, so when I usually when I do this, some of the parts I added a lot of ink, I really wanted ink. So a lot of times the drawing process takes quite a long time before another layer goes on. So this is the final work in the private museum. Yeah. So in the works, it's of the toy robots. So to me, right, the toy robots symbolize technology. In our life, like everything is about VR, AR, AI, artificial intelligence, and many things around us. Like even they have the Alpha Zero, the AI machine, born the top chess player. So a lot of things they can print even DNA technology and how we make use of our phone. So I'm always thinking like, we always have to strike a balance. Like not let technology take over us. How do we live in harmony with technology? Is it possible, or will one day technology will kind of take over the world and control us? Which is possible but scary. So to conclude, just a short quote from Albert Einstein: "The human spirit must prevail over technology." Thank you.
It's your chance to speak. So I think it's Q&A, right? Okay, Q&A from the floor whoever who have questions for respective artists or myself or even DPM. Okay, so yes, please. Yes.
Okay, I have questions for Urich. Personal. Because it seems that most of the artist groups the outcome of it is there's a physicality part aspect of the art, while yours is not, and it's actually more of a projection. So I want to know how you define the concept of frame and how is your work relates to the rest of the jazz.
When I talked to Zaki for a few times, I think one of the things I mentioned to you is I like the idea of printmaking in the form of a template and image, which is basically blocking negative and positive. So I want to work with the text as a subject, and I want to work on the idea of positive and negative impressions. So I'm thinking of how do I illustrate this impression, not by the normal way of using template, creating image on the surface, which talks about the methodology of printmaking. And I just want to talk about the negative space and the positive space. And then I think about a few different ideas how to show this. So you will see in the exhibition there's a laser cut aluminum plate of the text and installed around the insect killer, the fly trap insect killer. And you see this video mixer that shows and plays the text, but also with a spy cam that capture you guys into the projection, but they are superimposed with the text. And also the pendulum projector, the swinging projection, and is reading out the text, but it's not clear. So this also that actually there's a few more presentation, but just scale down to these three formats. So these three formats is talking about the same work, but at the same time give you a different perspective of showing this. Next.
Any other question?
Just curious about the curatorial process. Do you have a few artists in mind before coming up with the seven artists? And how do you really come about? How do you know that you really work for this idea?
From what you have said, do you think it works at this moment?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, then
for me, I think it's just
the process, right?
Yeah, the process that is the interesting part.
Okay. Thank you for asking. I think it's a very difficult question because honestly, my orthodox way of curating, usually we have the concept and then we choose the artist and then from then on we organize, right? So, but this time is a little bit different for me. For me it's experimental because the lineup of artists is already there. Okay, like I've said, they are, I think by their own means or capacity, they are filmmakers. The artist is there, so I'm on board. I came up with the format or the letter that I posed to them. So I said this is actually the perspective and angle that I'm looking into. So feel free to respond. Okay, and then after a few rounds of discussion with the artist or meeting the artist and with the proposed work, okay, and then with whatever that I've been reading or researching, that's when I started to locate their works to my research. And I think one miraculous thing is that somehow their works, be it whether they respond or did not respond, it actually fit in well with the historical timeline of the what is before Gutenberg machine and what is after. So I think this is a miracle project because somehow it fits nicely, like without me having to worry, is this not okay or what? But somehow I think I managed to locate them nicely into the essay. So I think that's why I've been sharing with people that this is actually an essay-based exhibition. So you can look at the works. You can see various types of printing methods. But with this book, then you can get the context behind the works. Because before I discuss their works, there was always a context of the studies or the historical research that I did based on the revising the phenomenon of printing. Yes, any more? Any more? Do you have questions for the audience? Can you do the unorthodox way?
So perhaps like to add what is TPM Guest Curator Series all about. So this is the second edition of our Guest Curator Series. So last year we had the inaugural exhibition. It was curated by Dr. Shin-Young, and she was sort of attempting to explore or study into what it's like being the other, or the whole concept of otherness. And this guest curator series is meant for curators and artists to explore contemporary themes to experiment in an organic and independent way. And that's why we have the 7 artists and the work of Zaki. So yeah, if you have any other questions for the artists, Zaki or myself or TPM, please feel free to stay. And we have prepared a platter of savory sandwiches for you to enjoy after the talk. Okay, so the catalog, we put in a lot of work in it, and we try to have a theme to the catalog as well, corresponding to Zaki's curatorial direction of realizing the phenomenon of printing. And it's actually sort of like a Bible. So if you can support us, it's available for sale at $50. So can we all please give another round of applause to the artists and for staying throughout the talk. We cannot condense all of their practices, all their thoughts in one session. So it's an ongoing conversation, and I hope to see you guys for our future shows. Thank you.